Welcome to the Checkered Shorts Podcast, a podcast of three fraternity brothers reconnected by their love of IndyCar. Join us for grid-rival IndyCar fantasy talk, predictions for upcoming races, and reactions to race day results and all things IndyCar. Let's go racing! Hello, welcome back to Checkered Shorts, episode 39. We're all feeling the post-season blues at this point.
Yeah.
IndyCar has failed to extend their season. We hope in the future maybe they can extend it a few weeks on both ends. If we're lucky, it'd be nice to see a few more races if the teams were up for it and the money started coming in to make that a worthwhile venture for IndyCar. But episode 39, we got a little history lesson from Professor Dinwiddie.
Sure. 39. 1955 was the 39th Indy 500. And that is a really dark day in Indy 500 history. That is the day that Bill Vukovich, who had won the race in 53 and 54, and actually should have won in 52 as well, was leading late with like 7 laps to go and wrecked. Was on his way to his third Indy 500 and was almost if not a lap ahead, nearly a lap ahead of the field when 2 or 3 cars ahead of him got tangled up, and Bill caught one of them trying to get around the outside and flipped over the wall on the backstretch and died that day. So a dark day in Indy 500 history. Bill Vukovich has always gone down as one of the greatest to ever run at Indy, but like if he would have been the only person to win 3 in a row in 1955, the 39th 500.
There's a book on that, right?
There is.
Yeah.
There is. Yeah.
I think my dad has it, or he's told me to read it.
Yeah, it's really good. I read it this spring, so
nice.
Definitely a good read.
Good.
All right. Well, that brings us to post-race Nashville. We're going to have some season wrap-up episodes here coming in the future, but let's focus on the most recent race. Brian did make the trek down there to Nashville with his daughter. All in all, good day, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, it's about a 4.5-hour drive. So got up bright and early, hit the road, and it cruised on down 65 and rolled right in about an hour before the NXT race.
Yes.
It's an easy in, easy out. Like, yes, it's considered Nashville, but it's truly it's out in the country, like in Lebanon, Tennessee. So you take a little 4-lane highway down off 65, you roll right into the track. It's a really cool place. It's a NASCAR track owned by NASCAR. Little over, I think it's 1.25 miles track.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We had a good day. There was, like I said, some racing, and then there was a concert. The All-American Rejects, who played Carb Day here in Indy, were down there and they had a stage set up, and everybody had pretty close access. It was a good crowd, and Connor Daly actually came out and introduced them, which was cool. And then they came out in wearing Connor's race suits, or replicas of his race suit, which I thought was pretty awesome as well. The one that had the bands, since they were the sponsor, that was his livery. So those were cool. Put on a good show. It was a little warm, so we left the concert a little early, went underneath the stands, got something to eat and drink, and then headed up. And decent crowd, but great race again. Like we were talking about this earlier, like ovals put on good shows. Other than we've had some downtimes at Iowa in the last couple of years, but this year was better there. But again, good crowd. Did it fill the stands? No, but I'd say probably 60% was full, which, as they continue to promote that and being outside of the city, I think they can do that. They're close enough to, it's kind of a Midwestern town. So you'll get Midwestern race fans to get down there and see that. But overall, it's a great day. We almost ended up driving back, but we decided to stop on the way home and then picked up a little Buc-ee's. There's a Buc-ee's in Smith Grove, Georgia. So neither one of us had ever been to a Buc-ee's. We stopped in there in the morning, got some breakfast, and then headed home. So it was all in all a good day.
Did you guys sit at the very top?
We sat 2 rows from the top.
Yep. No kidding. That's a hike, man. That's a hike up there.
Yeah. Luckily, you got the there's a double concourse, so the concourse is about halfway up. So once you go up, you don't come all the way back down. You go to the midway concourse and restroom and get your concessions there.
Good.
So,
Yeah,
but
good.
it's a trek to the top of Nashville Speedway.
Good. Sounds awesome. I mean, Keith, you can bounce in here too. Our viewpoint, I mean, coverage is great racing. Just what you want to see on a Sunday afternoon on an oval for sure. I would have loved to have seen Pato, duke it out. I mean, he was dominant, but there was cars charging for sure. But
yeah,
that's the racing sometimes.
After that caution on lap 1, the start of the race was about as thrilling as any 10-lap segment of the season, at least off a restart, just to watch them going side by side, and going back and forth with the lead. Took some pretty skillful racing on both guys' parts, to grab the low line and be able to keep the lead, and Palou pushing so hard on the outside. That was pretty exciting, those first, I guess it would be the 11 laps after lap 1 incident. But that was a lot of fun to watch.
That's cool. I mean, neither of those guys had anything to gain by doing either of that. I mean, one was first, one was second in the standings already. So obviously, it's a pride moment. They want to win. They're there the race. So I thought that was especially cool. But that's when I started going to Kentucky way back in the day. I mean, that's how they were for 30 laps, just side by side, and who's going to win that lap? Who's going to win that lap? So that was cool. I need more of it, but that was super awesome. Especially the first two head guys.
And I know we'll get there later, but as cool as that was, we had that at the start of the race. We had that right at the finish of the race too, with Kiffin Simpson and Scott McLaughlin doing the same thing, like battling for the podium spot.
Yeah, I mean,
really cool side by side battles all day. It was just fun to. I don't know how much of that got. I did watch the broadcast, but just being there, you were able to see some of those in the back of the pack that you don't normally see.
So I think we can hit our "We Got Beef" segment a little early in the episode. I got beef with Firestone. You don't normally hear much about it, but immediately upon interviewing getting out of his car, after Palou experienced a blowout tire failure, and then Pato experienced one that took him out of the race, he was pretty transparent about his feelings, and shared them openly. I don't know what you guys think about that, or what you guys have been hearing.
Yeah, I think it's hard to believe that Firestone didn't have an inkling that something was up with those right front tires, because we had Pato, when we had a couple others that also, Palou, again, we talk about he's really good, and good brings you luck, but when you blow a tire on the lap that you're coming into the pits, that's big, and that was that right front as well over there in turn 2. So a lot of turn 2 issues, and it seemed to be because of that pressure they were putting on that right front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not how you want to ever, especially when you're leading the race, have your day go bad. And that was on the alternate tire too. So is that up for discussion they're trying to make it more racy. I get that from the fan aspect, which I can appreciate, but do it right. If you're going to do it. IndyCar, you might hear a flat tire every once in a while come across, but it's not very often. And they don't blow tires, not nearly like NASCAR blows tires. I think they run a lot less pressures sometimes too that can cause all that, but you don't hear too much of that stuff in IndyCar. So, we got beef with Firestone. I totally agree, Keith.
No, that's a good point, Pat. I didn't think about the red and black tires. I like that because you could definitely see that on the track.
Sure.
Those that had red tires versus those that were on the blacks, as the tire wear on those two different compounds was happening, but could have been part of it.
Yeah, they did it last year. I don't remember it being an issue as far as, I guess at some point you're like, hey, these are only, they do it for road courses, right? They're like, these things fall off really quick. So again, but Firestone needs to come up with a better tire, even if it is an alternate, that is at least still safe and not ruin somebody's day.
Yeah, so the viewership was high too, considering the championship was in the bag. Pretty much most places were set for the finish of the season, but it seemed like there was still a little bit of excitement around the race.
Yeah,
So I think Brian, you had mentioned before we hit record on this episode that the viewership was up over a million.
up
That's a
over a
good sign.
million. I think being the finale had something to do with that. I think that New Garden and Nashville, I think him being in the mix like that maybe
Probably.
people knew about the race because it was there near his hometown. But I think too, NASCAR didn't race till that night. They were at
Yeah.
Darlington or the night before, maybe even.
Yep.
So you didn't have that competition. So he found that sweet spot in the TV viewership. But after several races in that 700 to 800,000 range, now we jump up to over a million to finish the season. And I think I might even read that was up over 100% from last year's viewership of that
Yeah, I'm
race.
reading it now. 1.1, which is a significant increase from 24, plus 136 compared to 2024.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it's working. Whatever. I think the sport is definitely working, but I think obviously there's some other kickers, Fox, in there. I think the racing's helping, but 136%. I mean, what would the 500 have? Is 1.7?
7 mil this year for the 500. Yeah.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Things are working, and I was thinking about this earlier today. Just, the ovals have gotten a lot of criticism over the last couple of years, but ovals are working. And I think we've mentioned that we're biased because we like oval racing.
Sure.
But for those that think that ovals are going somewhere, remember that who runs this series and which team is the best on those ovals. Right? So, I don't think Roger's letting those ovals go anywhere.
It's just dynamic racing, man. Obviously, they had a hiccup in Iowa. That'll come back. I mean, if it does come back, that racing is coming back. The track's coming around. Milwaukee's killer. Nashville just shows out again for another discussion. But we need to start and we need to end on ovals. It is the most exciting racing, especially for TV too.
And maybe we get that. I mean, maybe we're not going to get the first race because St. Pete will have the first race. Yep. But I know there are whispers, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in another episode. But I would love to see Phoenix. That's the one oval that's in the part of the country where they could run early season.
Yeah, you're right.
And that would be really good. I'd love to see that just to connect to those oval fans right away.
Well, in an oval, we've failed to mention a lot of times, but always ends up being in our top 3 to 4 races of the season is St. Louis. We went on a whim because we were like, I want to go to St. Louis again. But every time we've gone, it's never disappointed. It's always been a great race.
That's true.
It's a great point. I mean, you're like, oh, St. Louis, nothing special about the track, nothing there. It's not vendor galore. There's no big concerts, but it's awesome racing.
Yeah. And to last this year, being the majority of the race at sunset or after sunset, made for an awesome night too. So moving on to who impressed, obviously Joseph Newgarden's homecoming after a pretty tumultuous season, come out and perform the way he did. Obviously he's got to be on that list. Who do you guys have?
Yeah, before we jump to anybody else, I'll just say as being there in person, Joseph's had his moments over the last couple of years, and I know at Indy this year you heard a lot of boos or moos as he tells his son. But Nashville was the opposite. Those fans in Nashville love him. When he was introduced in driver intros, like the crowd roared. When he was coming up through the field and took the lead, it almost sounded like Connor Daly at the 500. So it was really cool to see, Joseph pull that off. He needed that. I think the sport needs that for him to be solid. So really good to see Joseph win that.
Yeah, I think it was good for the sport for him to win it. I've been saying it. He's arguably still top 2, second best in the series. maybe he lost a little bit, but I think it was good for the sport, especially in his hometown, to see him win. Not the biggest Joseph fan, especially after this season when he started snubbing everybody, but whatever. I mean, I guess you get the right to do that. But yeah, no, I think personally, I think Connor impressed me with the top 5 finish. Terrible practice, terrible qualifying. Thought he was, just going to do the old Connor Daly thing and kind of fall off the cliff. But put a really good showing out there and finished 5th. I thought that was spectacular for him. So,
well, and I think if that last caution hadn't happened with McLaughlin, which was weird that they threw that, and 2, the side-by-side battle between McLaughlin and Simpson kept him from being able to get around.
You're right.
If those 2 would have been in line, who knows what Connor would have done on that last restart. We know how he is in that type of situation. So,
sure. So he didn't do what he used to do. Start 27th, finish 27th. So, hope to see him back next year. I think we will, but that was my impressive.
I'll go with Kiffin Simpson.
Yeah.
I've been a critic. He comes from a lot of money. He really, in my opinion, didn't really earn his way on the IndyCar, and his performance coming up through the ladder wasn't there. But he's had some really bright spots this season, and like I said, he was battling Scott McLaughlin side by side for that podium spot at the end, and he raced his way up there. I mean, there wasn't much strategy involved. Kiffin put the pedal to the metal, and so really impressed with what Kiffin did on oval last weekend.
Yeah, that run for 3rd place at the end of the race, actually, that the TV coverage, I think, kind of missed some of that, but it sounded like it was a pretty darn good run at the end. And then to hear, I kind of said it as a side note that Scotty Mack just nosed him out at the end for that 3rd place finish.
They wanted to grab that Joseph finish, and then they didn't change the pylon on TV until probably 20 seconds after they thought it was that close between those 2. So I'm excited to see what he can do next year. He's on the best team. It doesn't sound like he's going anywhere. Apparently his whole family owns, is it the Virgin Island? No, not the Virgin Islands. Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
If his family has, if you go to the grocery store, they own the grocery store basically. So, but regardless, it sounds like he there to stay around, and hopefully it should be even better next year for him.
So who disappointed in this race? I think I would say David Malukas, because he did look like he had a good car, and obviously I don't know if the incident that took place between him and Louis Foster whenever he was trying to pass him, what happened there exactly, but still a disappointing finish to see him go out and not finish a race again where he ran strong. It's happened a couple times this year.
Yep.
Yeah, I think his finish is disappointing, but I thought David ran a good race, and what Louis did there was a rookie move. He should have let David go, and I think David, who knows what David could have done the rest of the race. He had a fast race car.
Yeah, I agree, but you also have to know who the hell you're racing against in Davy's world. You got to know that not to say that Davy's wrong in what he did, but Louis was definitely in the wrong. But, sometimes you got to think about that, I guess. Easier said than done. Mine was Herta. Just the whole another topic of where he's going, what he's doing is 11th. Cool, man. See you later. Come on. Simply not impressed with him much at all this season.
Yeah. Just seemed like he had in several races had a lot of speed, but never could put it together. And this last weekend just bad.
Yep. Everybody else kind of, Marcus Ericsson 15th. Yeah, it's about typical. Rossi had a 10th. Callum, you could put up there 9th. Just really strong running.
Solid performance again.
Everybody else is, kind of run of the mill where they're supposed to be, sort of thing.
So who got the final shit pit? Kelly Landscaping shit pit of the week, the last one of the season. So it's got to be a coveted. It's got to be a coveted title for whoever.
I don't know if he's won it, but it's got to be the Aussie, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like that was
Overshot
he
it.
needed a good. I mean, it wasn't going to matter in his future, but
No. Yeah, Power. Stamp it, seal it, sign, seal, deliver. See you next year in Andretti, buddy. Hopefully that shit pit crew of Herta's either figures it out for Power or they mix it up a little bit.
yeah, he's moving right over to the appropriate car, isn't he, in the 26 car?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much else action. Lundgaard had to think a little bit of a hiccup, but by far, willpower. Kelly Landscaping sponsored shit pit of the week.
All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good episode. We do have some future episodes coming up. We don't know exactly what we're going to do with the full off season, but we know that we got several loaded and ready to go topics to get us through a couple of weeks here. So we look forward to joining you guys for episode 40. We're going to talk about our final season power rankings. We'll talk about the champion of the Grid Rivals Championship Series for Checkered Shorts. And we'll hit on a few other topics, kind of the silly season, what's going on, and what's happened thus far. So we look forward to talking with you guys again for episode 40.
See y'all. 39 in the books.